How is your life different as a child than it is for children today?
It was a lot less external stimulation. Growing up on a farm, you were um, less affected by external stimuli. And you had to learn to entertain yourself a lot more. At the time we were growing up on the farm, there wasn't a telephone in the house. There was a black and white TV that received only 3 television stations. There was no internet. The main outlets were playing with your siblings or cousins or other family members who would visit on the weekends, and going to church on Sundays you look forward to, and vacation Bible school in the summers. And I guess we actually kind of look forward to going to school every year when September came around, because it meant, more people you saw and more friends and more chances to play on a playground. But it was a good life.
Okay. Who were your role models when you were younger and why?
My role models. I always said that my main hero that I realized later in life, but someone who I emulated very much, was President Franklin Roosevelt. And though he wasn't president when I was alive, I heard my mother and her sisters and other people talk about Franklin Roosevelt and how he really rescued this country from the Great Depression.
Uh-huh.
And allowed people opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise had, and that he was a president for the common man, for the working man and woman. And I realized that he and Abraham Lincoln were my 2 biggest heroes and role models.
Okay. So this is the last one about the childhood experience. What is the earliest event or person of historical significance that you can personally remember?
John F. Kennedy. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, there was another 3rd grade classroom next to mine, and the father of one of the students in that classroom, she was Deborah Fox, her father owned a department store, and he would deliver a TV to the classroom for everybody to watch the moonshots on. And we went into that classroom, and on the black and white TV, we watched President Kennedy be inaugurated in Washington on a cold, cold January day. And I remember seeing Dwight Eisenhower, who was the president who was leaving office, and his wife, Mamie Eisenhower, and Jack Kennedy and his wife, Jackie Kennedy, who became Jackie Kennedy Onassis when she remarried after his assassination, at the swearing in on that cold January day. He was the first political figure that I remember.
Okay.
So I was that was 3rd grade, so I was 9 years old.
That's probably better than I could do.
And then I remember 3 years later when he was assassinated. I learned about it while I was in school, and I had to go to the dentist that afternoon. And walking to the dentist, I was wondering, so I guess I was maybe 12 years old then, and I was trying to figure out, well, what does this mean? Because I'd never known anyone to be assassinated before.
Right.
And I just couldn't figure out, well, what does this mean?
All right, so there's a section for education questions. How were schools different when you were going through school than they are now?
The biggest difference, I would say, is that schools then were safe. There were no school shootings. It was inconceivable that anyone would have a gun at school. And now that today you see the presence of mass shootings in schools is just appalling that we as a society have gotten to that. You could go to school and it was a safe place of learning, and you didn't have to worry about drills or any of that, or really fights in schools. There might have been scuffles every now and then, but there was not a fear of violence in any form as there is now. I think, that's what stands out most.
Okay. What subjects do you remember specifically studying?
What did I like most? Ooh, well, I remember history. History always held a lot of fascination for me, but I always I enjoyed English and literature, and I enjoyed the sciences. I did well in the sciences, and ultimately realized that would be the direction that I would take in a career. My third grade teacher had a tremendous influence on me. Her name was Pauline Gillespie, and her husband had been a missionary in China before World War II. And she filled her lessons with lots of stories about China and what it was like to live in China. And all of those stories fascinated me and stuck with me and really increased my level of interest in learning about other countries of the world.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.